Good day folks, my name is Sean and this is Air Photography. Welcome to my beginner's guide for the Hero 10 Black. This video tutorial is geared for those who have never used a GoPro before. If you've just purchased one, or perhaps you'll be getting one over the upcoming holiday season, this is a great place to learn how to use your new camera, get up and running, and filming quickly. In this beginner's guide, I'm going to go over topics such as memory, how to charge your GoPro, powering it on, updating the firmware, connecting it to the GoPro Quik app. We're going to go over some of the different capture modes, how to change settings, everything you need to know as a beginner. Along the way, I'll also throw in some tips and tricks and other important information that you need to know. So with all that said, let's just jump right in and get started. So this here is the Hero 10 Black. It was released this September. And every year when GoPro releases a new camera, I like to create a beginner's guide for those who are brand new and just want to get familiarized and learn how to use it. I really enjoy GoPros. Not only are they good for capturing action sports, they're just an all-around good durable camera. They're waterproof up to 33 feet, just as is, without any additional casing. With built-in stabilization, it's perfect for vloggers who don't want to be bogged down with gear. They're small and compact and very travel-friendly. So whether you're into action sports, travel vlogging, or just want to capture a family vacation or a day at the beach, it's really the perfect choice. Now, these beginner guides can get a little bit long, so I highly recommend to perhaps watch it in smaller chunks. It might even be a good idea to save the video, and that way you can always come back and reference it later. So with all that out of the way, let's get right into it here. So I have a brand new Hero 10 Black in front of me. I haven't opened this yet, and I wanted to do it that way you can see everything from beginning to end. This year, it's a little bit different with the GoPro. There is a forced update that you have to install before we can use the camera. So we'll go ahead and we'll open it up here. So we'll slide the case out of the box here, and as you can see, GoPro includes a case with their camera, which is always nice. It gives you a little case to hold all your gear. Now, it's not overly big, but enough to hold the camera, some extra batteries, a charger, and some small accessories. When we open it up here, you can see we're greeted with the GoPro, some accessories, and some literature here at the top. You can see right away in this top sheet it says that the camera must be updated before we can use it. We have a little quick start guide with some stickers on the back and some safety instructions. As you can see, they give very little information about how to use the camera, and that's why I make these beginner's guides, because it can be a little bit overwhelming if you've never used one before. So inside the box, you can see here we have the camera. And we'll take a closer look at it in a minute. We'll just set it aside for now. We have a USB-C cable, and this can be used for multiple purposes. The main thing that you're going to be using it for is to charge up your GoPro, but it can also be used to plug it into a computer to update firmware and transfer files. You can see here we have a battery. We have a buckle mount. This is used for mounting the GoPro, and we're going to talk a little bit more about mounting and the different types of mounts here in a minute. And here we have a buckle mount receiver. This one is for curved surfaces. So you would attach this to something like a helmet. And again, we'll get into that here in a minute once we talk about mounting. And lastly, at the very bottom, we have what's called a thumb screw. And this is for securing the GoPro to various mounts. So let's take a closer look at the GoPro. Now, when you pull it out of the box, it might actually look a little dusty. That's just due to the cardboard packaging, so it's nothing really to be alarmed about. We'll take off the protective wrap. And we have 3 protective films that we do need to remove. We have one over the lens here, one over the front-facing screen, and we have one at the back here. And as you can see there again, it tells us that we must update our camera before we can use it. So let's take a look around the GoPro here, and I'll kind of go over all the buttons and what everything is for. Obviously at the front there, we have our lens. We have a front-facing selfie screen, so if you're going to be lining up a shot, it's quite easy to do now. On the back here, we have a touch screen. This is how we're going to preview what we're filming, and also how we will be changing our settings. On the top here, we have a shutter button. On the side here, we have our power button. It's also a mode button that allows us to cycle through the various shooting modes. And right below the power button, you can see here we have this thing that looks like a door. Now, it's not a door, so don't attempt to try and open it. Basically, there's a microphone under there, and the way it's designed, it allows water to drain out quickly. So if you're filming at a beach and you're underwater and you come out, this is the first microphone that will get drained of water, so you can have good audio right away. So don't attempt to pop that door off because you will break it. If we go to the bottom of the GoPro, you can see these are our finger mounts. They fold out just like that there, and that's how we'll attach it to various mounts. When you're not using it, they just fold up and out of the way. On the other side here, we do have a door that we can open, and we do so by pulling down on that little tab. Once you hear it click, you can see that it opens up right away. Now this door is removable. You can see it just pulls away. So if it happens to fall off while you're opening it, nothing to worry about. It just pops back on, just like that there. Now under that door, there's a spot for our battery. That's the big open cavity there. And it might be kind of hard to see, but there's a little memory card slot right beside the battery compartment. That's where we're going to be installing our memory, and we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second. And below that is a USB-C port. That's where we plug it in to charge it or to transfer data. And that's basically it. It's a pretty simple camera, so there's not a lot of buttons that you need to learn. So before we continue, let's talk about mounting your GoPro. As mentioned, at the bottom here we have our finger mounts, and that's primarily how you're going to be mounting your GoPro. Now when it comes to GoPro accessories and different mounts, there's two types of connectors that you'll run into. The first one here, this is called the Max Grip. Basically this is an extension pole. It's also a tripod, and it's also just a nice grip for handheld filming. Now you notice at the top here we have what's called finger mounts. And mounting a GoPro on an accessory like this is very simple. You're just going to line up those finger mounts, slide it in, take our thumb screw, and then just tighten it in. So that's one type of mounting interface. So let's take a look at the other one here. This accessory here is a floating hand grip, and what this does is allows you to film in and around water. If you happen to drop your GoPro in the water, this will keep it afloat. It's got a nice foam grip on it so it doesn't get slippery when wet. Has a nice bright orange end on it, so if you do happen to drop it in the water, it's going to be easily visible. And it has a nice lanyard that you can put around your wrist. That will help prevent you from dropping it as well. I actually use this quite a bit, not even when I'm in and around water, just if I want a nice comfortable grip. But as you can see here, when we look at the end of it, it has what's called a buckle mount. It doesn't have the direct finger mounts. And that's where we would use this accessory that came with our GoPro. This is the buckle mount, and this is the buckle mount receiver. So basically we can attach it to the finger mounts on the GoPro, and it doesn't matter which way you put it on, whatever works most convenient for you. Again, we'll use our thumb screw to tighten it in. Now once you have the buckle mount attached, you're just going to pull up that rubber flap at the back. You're going to take the accessory with the buckle mount receiver on it, and as you can see, it just slides down in, and you'll hear a click. That way you know it's in there securely. Once it's in, you can just press that rubber flap back down in. That rubber flap basically prevents these fingers from being pushed in and accidentally releasing the GoPro. When you want to remove it, you just pull that rubber flap up, pinch the two fingers, and it will slide right out. The reason GoPro uses these buckle mounts on some of the accessories, it allows you to go from mount to mount quickly and easily without having to undo the thumb screw every time. So now let's talk about charging up our GoPro, and it's pretty important before you continue to make sure the battery is fully charged before we update the firmware. But before we can charge it, we have to install the battery. So we're just going to open up the side door. And you always know which way to put the battery in because the logo on the battery always faces towards the lens. Just slides in there like that. Now once you have it pressed in, we're going to leave the door open because we need to access the USB-C port there at the bottom. That's how we're going to charge up the GoPro. What you're going to want to do is take your USB-C cable. You're going to notice two ends on it. This is USB-C, this is USB-A. And we're going to take the USB-C end and plug it into the GoPro. Now one thing you're going to notice right away, there's no charging block included with your GoPro. This is just a standard USB-A, so you can use any charger that has a USB-A port on it. Most people have tons of them kicking around for different phones, different devices. For example, here's one from an iPhone, one of the older style ones. And as you can see, it has a USB-A port on it. So we can just plug it in and then plug it directly into a wall. When I go to plug it in here, you're going to notice a red light appear at the back here. There it is there. And that signifies that it's charging. Once the GoPro is fully charged, that light will go out. Now another way to charge up our GoPro battery is by using a power bank. This is a really convenient way to charge your GoPro on the go, or if you need to do extended recording. You can actually power on a GoPro while it's plugged into a power bank, and it will power it indefinitely until the power bank runs out. So if you're doing long time lapses or an overnight night lapse, definitely it's a good idea to invest in a power bank. But if you're away on a camping trip or just not around traditional power, you can plug your GoPro directly into a power bank. And as you can see here in a minute, it'll just start to charge it. There we go there. Now the third way to charge up your GoPro is by using a battery charger. This one here is GoPro's official battery charger. This works for both the Hero 9 and the Hero 10. And to use it, we're just going to remove the battery. We're going to line it up inside the charger. We can use the same cable that came with our GoPro because there's a USB port on the side of the charger. Then all we do is plug it into some form of charger. As you can see here, when the battery's in it, this light turns yellow. That means it's charging. When it's fully charged, that will turn green. So let's talk about memory for our GoPro. If you've purchased your GoPro in a store, just the kit, it doesn't come with a memory card. Now sometimes GoPro runs promotions if you order directly from their website, where they'll include a free memory card. But if you didn't get that promotion, you will have to purchase a memory card. Now the brand of memory that I like to use is from SanDisk, and there's two that I tend to use a lot. I use the SanDisk Extreme and the SanDisk Extreme Pro. Both are excellent choices for the Hero 10. The biggest decision you'll have to make really is what size to get. You can get a 256GB card, or you can get a 128GB card. You can even put a 64GB card in it, or 32. Now I would recommend staying away from those smaller cards because you'd be surprised at how quickly they will fill up. Plus you don't want to have the hassle of trying to empty a card, transfer content while you're away on vacation. Now there's different classes of these memory cards, so what I'll do is link down in the description of this video to Amazon where you can purchase the cards that I recommend. So to install our memory, again, we're going to open up that side door and you're going to locate the slot right beside the battery. It's pretty small and it can be a little bit fiddly to get it in. But basically what you're going to do is make sure the graphic side of the memory card is facing the back screen. You're just going to slide it in and then push it down in until it clicks. Some people find it easier to put the memory in and out without the battery being in there. So that's just all personal preference. Now before we go to the next step where we download the app, power on the GoPro and update it, you have to make sure the memory card's installed first. In order to install the firmware, it needs a memory card installed in your GoPro. So the next step here before we move on, we need to download the Quik app for GoPro. The Quik app is a great tool to have. It can give you a preview of what you're filming. You can change filming modes, you kind of use it like a remote. It's a great tool for previewing the content that we filmed. You can edit your content, share it. They even have built-in tools for auto editing, so all you have to do is select your clips and it will make a nice little edit for you. But it's also a quick and easy way to update firmware on the camera. Now if you're not quite sure what firmware is, basically it's software that runs within the camera and it dictates how the camera runs. Firmware updates can add new features and functionality and fix problems, so it's very important to update your firmware when one becomes available. So as you can see, I already have the Quik app installed down there at the bottom left hand side. GoPro rebranded it last year. It used to be just called the GoPro app, but it's now called GoPro Quik. You can download it for iPhone and for Android devices by going to the appropriate app store and just doing a quick search for GoPro Quik. Once you have the app installed, we're ready to power on our GoPro, connect it to the app, and then update our firmware. So to power on our GoPro, we're going to press the power button on the side. Just a quick press will power it on. You can see right away we come to a setup menu, so just follow along the instructions on the screen. I'm going to select English. We have to agree to their legal stuff. It actually says legal stuff. And for me, I'm going to turn GPS on. It's probably a good idea to turn it on because it does unlock a lot of features that you can use later on. Now at this point you can see it says update required. This is the forced update that I was talking about. You can't continue without updating it. It gives us a little message to leave the GoPro powered on and launch the Quik app that we just downloaded. Now I've had my Quik app installed, so mine might look a little different than yours and it might behave a little differently. So we're going to launch the Quik app. You can see it comes to this main page, and if this is the first time you're using the Quik app, it's going to give you a little tour, kind of show you what the buttons in that are. Once you've done all that and all the little messages have gone away, what we're going to do is click on the camera icon on the top right hand side. This is our camera view, and this is going to show us all the GoPros that we currently have connected. You can see here I have a couple older ones already paired there. But what we're going to do is add the new Hero 10 Black. So what we do now is hit that plus sign with the little camera up at the top right hand side again. And what it's going to do is search for the GoPro, and that's why we have to leave it powered on. And you can see there we get a message. It says we found your GoPro. So we're going to click on pair camera. Again, we'll hit the pair button when it pops up. And you can see there it said camera paired successfully. At this point we can name our GoPro. You can just leave it whatever it puts it up as. But because I manage multiple GoPros, I like to have each one a unique name that I know which one it is. But for now, I'm just going to call this one Hero 10 Black. We'll hit done, and we will click on Save New Name. Now you can see we get the message to install the update. So we'll hit Continue. You can see there it asks us to join the Wi-Fi network of the GoPro. The GoPro actually broadcasts a Wi-Fi signal. That's how we connect the camera to our smartphone. So we'll hit Join. Gives us a little welcome message there, and we'll hit Continue. We'll accept the terms and conditions. And right now it's transferring the update to the GoPro. You can see we get a message on the GoPro that says updating as well. So at this point it'll take some time. It doesn't take too terribly long, under 5 minutes. So just let it do its thing. Make sure you don't power off your phone or the GoPro. So about 2 minutes has elapsed there, and you can see there we got a confirmation on the screen that our GoPro was updated successfully. Now that's all I'm going to cover for the GoPro app for now. It's a great tool. There's a lot you can do with it, so I'm going to make a separate video about it later on. So if that is something you're interested in, make sure you're subscribed to my channel, and that way it'll come up in your feed once I have it ready. So we'll put that away for now, and we'll continue on here with the GoPro. Now don't be alarmed, during the update process the GoPro does restart automatically, and just like that our GoPro is now updated and ready to use. So I'm going to change the camera angle here so we can get a better view of the menu system. I'm just going to kind of give you a quick rundown of what everything is, what all the buttons are on the screen here. Now when you power on a GoPro, it goes right into video mode. And you know you're in video mode because you can see this video camera here at the top. The other two modes are time-lapse mode and photo mode, and we'll take a look at that here in a minute. Now depending what filming mode you're in, the icons on the screen may change. But let's take a look around here. First off, we have our battery icon. It shows us a graphic there, but it also gives us a percentage. At the top here, it shows you what filming mode you're in, and again, we'll take a closer look at that here in a second. On the very left-hand side, it shows us how much recording time we have. So with the memory card that I have in there, in video mode, we can record for 10 hours and 28 seconds. Now that'll change depending on the resolution you film in, and whether you're in photo mode, that'll change to how many photos you can take. Over here on the very left-hand side, that's a quick way to change the frame rate, and basically that's to do with slow motion. Now I'm not going to get into slow motion on this video. I actually created a video about that about 6 months ago. If you want to learn more about slow motion, I highly recommend to watch that video. But basically we can just tap on that, and that'll change the frame rate, which dictates slow motion. Below that is our digital lenses and our field of view. We'll go a little bit more into depth in that here in a minute. On the very right hand side here, that's our stabilization level. As you can see, when I click on it, this little menu pops up, and you can see we have high stabilization. We can turn stabilization rate off, or we can put it up to boost. Boost will give you the smoothest video, but what it does, it's going to crop in a little bit because it needs to crop the video in order to get that stabilization. So it just really depends on what you're filming and how much stabilization you need. For the most part, when I'm filming, I always leave boost on, just because I want my shots to be nice and smooth. Now, however, I'm going to turn it off for the time being, because if you notice here, we have a zoom button. We can click on that, and we can zoom all the way into 1.4 times. But you'll notice there when I turn boost on, that zooming option isn't available. Zooming isn't available in every shooting mode and resolution. So let's go back here and take a look at our digital lenses. This is also known as field of view, and right now there's a W there. That means it's in wide. So let's click on that and we'll see what options we have. You can see we get another slider, and as stated, it says wide, but we can go up to what's called super view. That's going to give us a much wider field of view. We can go down to linear. Basically, linear is going to crop in a little bit, but it's going to get rid of any distortions, so it's going to look more like a traditional camera. The problem is with a wide field of view or super view, it gives you a nice wide field of view so you can fit more action in, but it is going to introduce some distortion. So depending on how you're holding the camera, you could get some curvature in the horizon. When you film in linear, that goes away. However, like I said, it is cropped in, so you may not be able to fit as much detail in as you need. The next one down below that is called linear with horizon leveling. Basically, it's the same as filming in linear, except what it does is it keeps your horizon completely level. If you look at the screen here, you can see the back of my desk. And you can see as I'm turning the GoPro, the back of my desk stays level with the horizon. Once you do get to a certain extreme angle, you see it will turn then. Now, so horizon leveling is something that sometimes you want on, sometimes you don't. For example, if you're a mountain biker, sometimes you don't want to have that horizon level because you want that movement from side to side. It just makes the video a little more exciting and more thrilling to watch. However, if you're trying to capture nice cinematic footage, you would want that horizon leveling on to keep everything nice and smooth and level. And the very last one down there is called narrow. Again, there's no distortion in it, and it crops in pretty tight. So if you're trying to film something up close, that's probably your best option. Down here at the bottom, it shows us some of our film settings, and GoPro has some pre-made modes set up, and we'll take a look at that here in a second, but it gives you a quick overview of what you're filming in. You can see there that it says 4K, that means we're filming in a resolution of 4K. Behind that it says 30, that means our frames per second is in 30. And that's the most common one and what a lot of people film in. And then right beside that it shows us our field of view, or our digital lens. Right now we're in narrow, so it has an N. If we change that up to wide, you can see there that changes to a W. Now if we want to change our settings, we can do so quite easily just by tapping on the little button there, and you can see this new menu comes up. And as mentioned, GoPro has some pre-made modes. You can see we have standard, we have activity, and we have cinematic. You can actually go in and create your own modes if there are specific settings that you want to dial in, but we're not going to get into that in this video. I think I'm going to be making another video diving into that a little bit deeper. So we could create our own mode and put in the exact settings we want, or we can even just adjust what we already have. For example, at the bottom there you can see GoPro has one called cinematic. It films in a resolution of 5.3K, 30 frames per second, plus, which means the horizon leveling. Say we're pretty happy with those settings, but we want to film at 60 frames per second instead. We can click that little pencil icon, and that brings us into the menu where we can adjust that pre-made mode. So it shows us the way everything is set up right now. There's quite a bit there, and I'm not going to go over all of it, but say we want to change the resolution. We can click on that and bump it up to 60 frames per second. We'll back out of there, and that's going to save that, and it will permanently save it. So even if we power off our camera, power it back on, that change we made will still be there. And from here we can adjust other aspects to that pre-made mode. We can set our level of stabilization. We can add a duration, so we're only recording for a certain amount of time. We can set a timer. We can set our zoom level. So it's a good idea to kind of go through them and see what they all offer. So we can exit out of there. And you can see that that change is made now. It now says 60 frames per second. So that's a quick rundown of the menu when we're in video mode. Now, as mentioned, we can change filming modes. We can go to photo mode and we can go to time-lapse mode. And we can do so two ways. First of all, we can just swipe left and right on the screen. So if I swipe over this way, you can see it puts us into photo mode. And that little icon at the top is changed to a camera. And now those two dots are over on that side. We can swipe back, go back to video mode, or we can swipe the other way and go into time-lapse mode. And just like video mode that I've shown you, each one of these modes have sub-modes, so we can go in and film a time warp, a time-lapse, a night-lapse, and again, of course, we could always go in and create our own mode. I'm not going to get into time-lapse and night-lapses in this video. I am going to be making some more about that here in the near future. And again, if we go over to photo mode, you can see photo mode has some presets as well. But we're just going to stick to the basics right now, capturing video and capturing photos. So let's start with the simplest one. We're in photo mode right now, as shown by that icon on the screen. And to take a picture, it's as simple as hitting the shutter button. You can see there, it takes a photo. Now there's a couple things we can do here. Again, we can change our field of view. Right now it's in wide. We can also set a timer. That's what that icon there is. You can see if I press on it, it allows us to set a 3-second timer or a 10-second. If we hit 3 seconds, I'll show you what it does here. When we now hit the record button, or the shutter button I should say, it's going to give you a countdown and then take the photo. And that countdown will appear on the front screen as well, so if you are taking a selfie, it will come in very handy. On the very left hand side here, it allows us to set the camera parameters. Basically, you can take a super photo, an HDR photo, a standard photo, or a raw photo. You'll just have to do some experimenting around to see what you like best. So let's go back to video mode here. Now there's a couple different ways in which we can capture video, including voice control, which we're going to take a look at here in a minute. The most basic way is just to hit the record button, and you can see there it's going to start recording, and it will stop recording once we hit the shutter button again. Now, as mentioned, there are two other ways you can capture content on your GoPro. One being Quik Capture and the other being voice control. So let's take a look at Quik Capture first. Quik Capture basically allows you to press the record button when the camera's powered off. That will fire up the camera, start recording. When you're done recording, you hit the shutter button again. That will then stop recording and power the camera back off. And that can come in handy when you need to film something quickly. You don't have time to power on your GoPro, set your settings. I'll just show you quickly here how it works. You can see the GoPro is powered off. I'll hit record. The GoPro is going to power on and start recording, and you can see how quick that was. So if there's a lot of action happening, just do that and it will start recording right away. Then when you're done, you just hit the shutter button again. You can see there it'll stop recording and the GoPro will power back off. Now the other way to capture content is using your voice. So let's go ahead and we'll power the camera back on and we'll take a look at that. Now voice capture is disabled by default, so you do have to turn it on first. So to do that, we're going to swipe down from the top, and what that's going to do is give you some shortcuts to the most common settings people need to change. And you can see over here on the very left hand side we have a picture of a person with an X in it. That means voice control is turned off. So we can click on that to turn it on. It's going to ask us about our language. We'll hit yes. And just like that, it's now enabled. Now if we turn it off again and turn it back on, you can see it doesn't pop up that message about the language. That's just a one-time thing. So now that voice control is enabled, we can tell the GoPro to do various tasks. First thing we can do is change different modes. For example, we can say GoPro photo mode. You can see it went over into photo mode. We can say GoPro video mode. GoPro time-lapse mode. You can see it'll just switch back and forth. And you can see right now we're in time-lapse mode, but I can still say something like, GoPro, take a photo. You can see there, it's going to go in and take a photo. It moved us over to photo mode and took the photo. But we can also say things like, GoPro, start recording. You can see there it'll go in and start recording a video. And of course we can say, GoPro, stop recording. And it's going to stop recording the video. We can also power off our GoPro. GoPro, turn off. And you can see there it will power off. Now there is an option to power on your GoPro with a voice command, but you do have to change that in the settings. Now I've shown you the menu and how to change filming settings, but there are some other settings that we can access. If we swipe down from the top, which I already shown you, it kind of gives you a shortcut to some of the most common things. But if we slide over, you can see it brings up another submenu. And we can go in and change various aspects of the GoPro. Now I'm not going to go through all this because there's a lot there, but it's a good idea to go through and familiarize yourself with it. Now to preview the media that you've captured on your GoPro, all we're going to do is slide up from the bottom. As you can see there, it shows us our last captured item. Now, which for me it's just the desk when I was doing the demonstrations. We can also click on the grid view and it's going to show us thumbnails of all the content available on the memory card. We can go in and preview them, play them, and we can also delete them. To exit out of there, we're just going to hit that arrow and then swipe down from the top. So that's basically it. That's the basic functionality of your new GoPro Hero 10 Black. There's a lot we can do with it, and I'm going to save that for more advanced tutorials. I do recommend, if you are interested in GoPros, to subscribe to my channel, as I do a lot of reviews of gear. I make tutorials on how to do things. So definitely, if you're new, it would be beneficial, and hopefully you enjoy some of the other content I make. Now, before I get going here, I just want to go over a few accessories that you may want to consider for your new GoPro. One of the unique features of a GoPro is that there is a wide ecosystem of accessories to help you capture what you're trying to capture. But there's a few basic pieces that I do recommend getting as a new user. The first is some sort of grip. I really like the GoPro Max grip that they sell because it does act as an extension pole, so if you need to get some extension or some height, you can do so easily. It just acts as a nice grip. It's got a nice big thick grip on it, so even if you're wearing something like winter gloves, you can still get a good grip on it. But as mentioned at the beginning of this video, it also has a tripod, so if you need to set your GoPro down to capture a time lapse, you can do so. I also shown you this at the beginning of the video, the floating hand grip. I think this is an essential piece of every GoPro kit. It's one thing that you'll use a lot, whether you're going to be filming in and around water or not. It just makes for a nice grip, it's comfortable to hold, and it has that lanyard, which can be very important. The other thing that you may want to consider is some housing for your GoPro. This is the official GoPro brand, but you can actually get third-party ones on Amazon a little bit cheaper. Now, the reason you would want something like this is the GoPro is waterproof all by itself, right out of the box. You can go down to 33 feet with it without any issue. However, if you're going to go deeper, say you're going to do some scuba diving, you definitely need the waterproof housing to go down deeper. But these also work great just for some extra protection. For example, I mount my GoPros on my RC cars all the time, and those cars, when you're driving and filming with the GoPro, will flip over. You can easily damage one of the screens or the lens. So putting it in a protective housing like this, even if it's smashing against concrete, is going to keep your GoPro in good shape. After all, it's a lot cheaper to replace the housing if you need to after a few months than replacing your whole GoPro. Also, as mentioned at the beginning of this video, I highly recommend getting some kind of charger, either the official GoPro one or a third-party one, and a power bank. Power banks come in really useful when it comes to charging your GoPro. Whether you're going to be camping, road trips, you can plug your GoPro in, throw it in a camera bag, and charge while you're on the go. It's essential if you're going to be doing night lapses or extended time lapses, as the GoPro battery doesn't last terribly long, so this can keep your GoPro powered indefinitely. And it's also a good idea to pick up a spare battery. I think 2 or 3 is the perfect amount. Now when you buy the official GoPro battery charger, it does come with 1 spare battery as well. So that may be just enough for what you need. Well folks, that's basically it for my beginner's guide. Hopefully you learned something and you found it had value. Give it a thumbs up if you did, it's always greatly appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. And we'll see you in the next one.